identifying transformations. For each pair of figures below, choose how they are related. So we just need to go through the definitions of transformations real quick. So to translate or translation of a figure really means just move it. So you're going to move it left, right, up, down, or you can move diagonally like this. So you're literally just going to take something and scooch it around. That's a translation. You're not flipping it. It's so like sometimes you have, I don't want my pencil to fall here. You have a figure, like I'm using my hand, and you flip it over. Well, that's a mirror image or a reflection. Sometimes we take it and we just rotate it. So that's a rotation. But translate just means I have my hand and I'm just moving it. I'm not doing anything but moving. So reflection, which we just talked about, reflection means that we flip it. So we flip it over a line. And usually the line is like, if I'm using my hands, the line would be the x-axis if we're thinking of like the graphing it. But I could also have my hand and I could flip it this way. So up, and I don't know how much you can see on the camera there, but if I flipped it up, then it would be over the x-axis here. Sorry, I said x-axis on this one. That would be the y, up and down, y-axis. This would be flipping over the x-axis because it's the line going this way. Doesn't have to be over an axis, but it's usually over some kind of line. So if I said diagonally, like a diagonal line here, then I would go whoop and I'd flip it sideways like that. Okay. So it just depends on which line you're flipping it over, but usually you're going to flip it this way or you're going to flip it up. All right, rotation. So rotation's not too terribly difficult. We're just turning. So we're literally turning it. We're rotating it, okay? So I can take my hand and I can rotate it, and I can only rotate so much because of my bones here. But we just want to rotate back and forth. So we also have the option to choose none of the above. So if it doesn't fit in one of these three, then we would click none of the above. So if we look at the explanation down here, it says we can flip one figure over a line shown to get the other. So if they drew this dotted line in between and they're saying that they took the one on the bottom and they just boop, flipped it over and now it's the one on the top. So that is a reflection. This one, it just looks like we took the triangle and slid it down over here kind of on a diagonal, but we didn't flip it. We didn't rotate it. It just slid down. So that's a translation. The two little, I guess, what are they, mountain peaks? Again, it looks like we just took one and we slid it over. So that's another translation. And then the arrows, it does actually look like we took the arrow and rotated it a bit. Oh, and it looks like they're going from the first one to the second one with their arrow. It's not telling us necessarily which is the first and which is the second. So it just looks like we're taking it, and when you rotate it, one spot stays. So like the bottom of my pencil, if I rotate it, then it rotates, but the bottom of the pencil doesn't move. It just, the top of the pencil moves around, but the bottom of the pencil will still stay in the same point. So you usually rotate about a point. All right, so let's go ahead and click start. So for this first one, that's those hooks instead of arrows, but it looks like I'm taking the little hook or whatever shape that is, and I'm just rotating it on the bottom point there on the corner. So that is a rotation. The little mountain peaks, it looks like I had the mountain peak, and if I think of the top of the pencil as the mountain peak, it looks like I just took it and I flipped it over. So we call that a reflection, and you can think of it like a mirror image, or if you were looking in water, like if you could imagine a picture there. So a reflection is literally a reflection. Think of it like a mirror or water. It's going to be backwards. This little box shape or L shape, it looks like we just took it and we slid it over. So translation. And then it looks like the arrows, again, we're taking it and we're turning the arrows. So that's a rotation. Check. Yay. So there's not any math to do on this one. We're just matching up the words to the actual diagrams so that we understand what do the words mean before we get into actually using them. All right. So we have the two arrows here. It looks like we just took the arrow. They're still both pointing to the right. So all it looks like is we took it and we took the top one and we flipped it down to the bottom one. So again, we look at that as a reflection. Again, it looks like we're taking the little hook things and we're just turning. So rotation. Again, it looks like this one, and I'm going to go the opposite way for whatever reason. So it looks like we're taking it, we're turning it again. So that's another rotation. And then the triangles, it looks like I just took the top one and I slid it straight down. We call that a translation. All right, one more of these. Okay, so again, it looks like we're turning. So this point doesn't move, it just looks like we're turning. So literally just like if you could think of a wheel turning too, that works, but the point would be in the middle of the wheel. But we have rotation, not reflection there. And this one also looks like it's rotating around. Keep clicking on the wrong one here. So this one, it looks small, then it gets big. But we don't have anything over here that talks about changing size. So we click none of the above because we haven't gotten there yet. That is actually called dilation, but we're not working with dilation on this one, only these three. This one looks like it was flipped over. So it wasn't just translated, it wasn't scooted over because it's backwards. So that tells me that it's a reflection. So that's another way to know if it's a reflection too, is does it look the exact same or does it look flipped over? Does it look backwards? All right, we finished that one.